Good morning, everyone. I am Sarah Faith, and I'm here interviewing Master Theta Healer and Certificate of Science, Eric Brumett. Now, you've been doing Theta Healing for, what has it been, over 10 years now?
Yes, I came into Theta Healing in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
I had my first session, and then right after that...
Your first session with Vienna.
Had my first session with Vienna, and I was in California. I had this session over the phone, and she worked with me, and my depression lifted, and I felt very inspired, and a lot changed from that session, so I decided to take some classes and went full on into Theta Healing.
And you've seen a lot of success in your practice. How long do you feel like it took for you when you started Theta Healing to the point that you really started, like your career just started to boom, having so many clients come to you and teaching so many classes? What did you feel was that transition period?
Well...
And I guess to refine it, what do you feel was the force behind it?
To me, that force behind it was the path of divine timing. When I had my first session with Vienna and had that inspirational moment, what really shifted was that I didn't know what my direction in life was. Mm-hmm. And right after that session, I started having these visions and dreams of these, they look like crystal palaces and columns of light all around the world, and I just had this like awakening, and I really acted and moved forward into Theta Healing and to establish my career completely from intuition and instinct. And the very first class that I went to, and I sat down and Vienna came up and anointed my feet, and I just felt all these memories come back, like I've done this before. And throughout that whole class, which was actually the very first basic Theta Healing class.
And that was 10 years ago. That was like the first basic class Vienna had ever taught.
Yes, it was in February or March of 2001 that I took that class. And that was the first time Vienna combined what was DNA 1 and DNA 2 class. And then some years later it was renamed Basic Theta Healing class when new material and new classes started to form. And throughout that whole class, I felt in my cells and had a remembering of everything that she was saying as she was teaching it. Like I knew the information already. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that summer I went and I stayed in Idaho and took the very first ever intuitive anatomy class. And
how was that class? I've heard some stories.
The first few intuitive anatomy classes, you know, I was at the first one, and then the following summer I came back and took, I think it was like the fourth one. It was life-changing. I mean, it was a very intense class, and for everyone that's taken intuitive anatomy, you know how intense that class can be. We covered so much material, but we didn't do that much belief work. Wow. So what ended up happening from that class was, at the end of the class, I went back to my hometown of Santa Cruz, California, and kind of went into a hibernation. I just, like, didn't lose my direction. I didn't fall into a depression or go back to old habits or anything, but went through this process of resolve, of just energetic resolve, and really just let myself connect back into nature. And I really didn't want to do much other than continue to study, so I went back to college and was doing some anatomy physiology classes to follow up with all this information that Vienna gave in class, and just surfed all the time. And then the next summer was coming up, and I was like, you know, I feel this process is done, and I started to get bored with it. And so
bored with what?
It was like a waiting period. It was like when you go on a trip and you have that layover.
Mm-hmm.
It was like going home for a 9-month layover.
Wow.
Is the easiest way of really phrasing it up. And after that, I just said, okay, I'm ready to move forward in my life and put out this manifestation to come into certain relationships and start my practice. And I knew instinctively that that wasn't going to happen in Santa Cruz, and so I just logically thought, well, I can go back to Idaho. And I showed back up in Idaho, and then had almost like another layover. I was only there for 4 months, and then ended up in New York City and started my practice the following January. And I've been doing nothing but theta healing since.
Now, you've taught many IA classes. For those of you that know, it's intuitive anatomy classes. We shorten it for IA. What would you say is the biggest, what people should focus on, or how they should use this information that they receive from intuitive anatomy? What's the takeaway from this class? And what's your biggest advice to someone that just has completed this class?
Well, to really get into that, it's to also get into the fabric of theta healing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for those that have taken theta healing classes, there's so much time that's spent, especially in the classes, but also in the practice of theta healing and doing belief work. And it starts to become such the focus and such the focus. But belief work is really meant to clear attachment.
Mm.
You know, it's like the real foundation of theta healing is about co-creation, is about being connected with the energy that flows through all things, really awakening that divine spark within ourselves and manifesting and creating change. And what happened in the development of all these classes of basic theta healing and advanced theta healing and manifestation and abundance is that we were growing our awareness to see where these attachments are. And, you know, at first we were always just like, oh, that sounds like a negative belief, let's get rid of it. Oh, this sounds like a negative belief, let's get rid of it. And for those of you that have taken intuitive anatomy, it's a lot of that focus of working through everything that is suppressing your energy and holding you down and seeming like a burden, and you're going through almost like this rebirthing process.
Absolutely.
And what you're really doing is you're releasing all this bound up energy and all this congested energy, and then all of a sudden you awaken to actually feeling alive, right? So intuitive anatomy is like a boot camp of purging out all of these negative patterns and very heavy energy.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, a lot of people come out of that class and they feel light, and they kind of go, well, what do I do now? You know, because everything is different after that class. Each time I took it, each time I've taught it, and, you know, I took it twice, I assisted it 2 more times, and I've done 2 of the teacher's trainings on top of teaching it 11 times. So I've gone through this process a lot now, and
you have a secret, though, that I've heard about how you do intuitive anatomy classes. I know there's people out there that want to know, how do you teach all these classes without getting triggered? Because the basic principles, when you're reading through the material, and, you know, even Guy Steibel has said that when they were developing the disease and disorder book, and he was typing up all the information, he would start feeling like getting triggered, like he had these diseases. So what is the real trick to that?
The trick for teaching it is I let Creator teach the class, and I channel that in, it does process through me, but the night before, I make sure that I'm clear on the material.
So you do like belief work, or you just read up on the information and just clear your beliefs before the day before or something?
Yes. When we perceive something, and this is a really fun thing about the subconscious, whenever you put a conscious intent, your subconscious then processes it through all of its memory banks, through every reference that it can find. And if it doesn't have a reference, it creates one. You know, this is like what epigenetics is, where you don't have a gene for something and you'll synthesize the protein for it based on epigenetics. So in that sense, you have a belief for everything. There's endless amounts of beliefs because, you know, we can perceive things, we have an imagination, and can manifest and co-create any pattern. And so what I do when I teach the class is I review the information, and I observe myself reviewing the information so that I can see where my triggers are. And then I work through those beliefs. And it really took me probably 6 times of teaching the class that I finally got clear of my beliefs relating to the material of intuitive anatomy. So, you know, if you've gone through intuitive anatomy before, you know how much that has cleared. You know, I went through that 11 times before I got clear of all of the intuitive anatomy information. You know, so you do want to, coming out of that class, make sure that you're being present with yourself, where your instincts are, and where you're being reactionary. Because that's all the beliefs. But getting back to what I was saying before is that there's so much focus on the belief work process, and that's the backbone of Theta Healing and the foundation of Theta Healing. Really, for me, this has become an untruth. For me, the backbone of Theta Healing and the foundation of the magic of Theta Healing is really about allowing and surrendering to Creator, to the energy that flows through all things, and inviting that energy and this more divine presence into your life and into every aspect of your life.
Absolutely.
So that things can shift and things can change even faster and faster, and things become magical and sparkly, and things just happen.
I just got chills. I just felt the energy of Creator, right, as you were saying that.
Yeah. So like, all the belief work is just to free up the energy to then become aware and awakened to that.
Would you say then that the intuitive anatomy is building your foundation of Theta Healing? Or would you say it's part of the building blocks, just a facet of Theta Healing? Because it's such a powerful class. But
yes.
I mean, obviously you're getting to know the body, you're really working with the different systems.
Yeah. Once you've come up through intuitive anatomy, you know, you've taken basic, you've taken advanced. Most likely, most people that have gone through intuitive anatomy has also taken manifestation and abundance class. And so you have all of the facets and tools of Theta Healing, so that when you step into that next scale of work of the DNA 3 material, when things come up, you have the ability to address it.